I think many devotees, including myself, once we get hooked on Krishna consciousness, we tend to make the mistake that, everything I did with my previous life was no good. Now I want to be a devotee and I have to start and learn everything new. But actually, that's not the way we're wired. We have already a certain personality. We just need to spiritualize it.
Okay, welcome everyone to the Vedic Essence podcast. Very happy to spend the second episode of this podcast with Rasa Manjari. Very warm welcome. So great that you're here. Maybe some of you won't know Rasa. She's from the Netherlands. I thought it might be nice to give a small introduction, if that's okay with you. A small bio. Okay. So Rasa has been a Krishna devotee for many, many decades. She served in America in the beginning years, where she was a temple president in Kentucky and Ohio from the period around 1996, I believe, till 2006. And afterwards, you went to Mayapur, the Mayapur Institute, in order to give Bhagavad Gita classes, where you were a teacher from 2007 to 2008. And afterwards, you returned to the Netherlands, where you became a part of ISKCON Communications, as you say, as an active listener, but also sometimes giving presentations on socially relevant topics such as sexuality, LGBTQ plus rights, and yeah, spreading awareness on these topics. And currently, you are the head of the volunteers at the very popular Christian pilgrimage center, the Monastery of Wittem, where you oversee a variety of projects that is focused on raising awareness and also fostering community engagement and maintaining a visible and a relevant presence in society. So that's quite impressive. You did so many things. So we are looking forward to hear from you today, because in the recent months, we had a few very beautiful conversations together that were, at least for me, very inspiring. And we were exploring there your experiences and how they can help to share Krishna consciousness in a more relevant way in the current society. To create a movement that is meaningful and that is also very accessible and universal for new seekers. And so we hope to explore some of these topics today. Yeah. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. So in our last conversation, you shared that your spiritual master, Krishna Goswami, he gave you a mission the last time you saw him. Of course, he left the world quite, in a surprising or tragic way, in an accident, in a car accident. But before that happened, you met him, I think, was it in England?
Yes.
Yeah, in England. And he gave you a mission. Mm-hmm. Maybe you would like to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you for the question and thank you for having me on your podcast. When I last spoke with my Guru Maharaj, he asked me, well, what are your plans? And, as I wanted to impress him, I said, well, I want to make a lot of devotees. Yeah. He said, oh, okay. And how many are you thinking of? And I mentioned a number just off the cuff. And he said, actually, that's not a good idea. And I was very puzzled, because I think to please a spiritual master means, to preach nicely and to get people to also become Krishna conscious. But what he said to me was very profound, because he said, you should actually make Krishna consciousness available to as many people as possible. So you have to have the broad approach, and he said, and those people who hear about our movement, who hear about our philosophy, and who are very much, enthused by it, they will find us. They will take the next steps themselves. But it is very important that you present Krishna consciousness to a very wide range of different people. And so that has been my mission. And it's it's quite a challenge, but also it gives me some different understanding, as I can see that not everybody will take the whole process at once.
Mhm.
There's incremental steps, and I think we should be very sensitive to giving people the space to take those steps.
Yeah. The time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because I think as devotees, we sometimes think the other way around. So we think we should grab them and somehow keep them here. But his approach sort of makes it more liberal, more open. Okay, they should come to us, they can find us, and we should be available
Yeah,
and open to
exactly.
receive them. Yeah, what did you do once you received that advice or that mission?
Well, I obviously had to give it some thought because it was like a whole different approach. And remember, I was coming from some 15 plus years as a temple devotee, and now, trying to build another life for myself and getting into society. Um, but then, I landed in jobs that I always had to work with Christian organizations, and actually, I got some access to that broader audience. And I could very well see that, you just have to be very, very focused and try to see the different opportunities for presenting Krishna consciousness in a way that's not threatening, that's it, as you said, very liberal, but that has a little something different that people can say, hey, I never heard about that.
Hmm.
This is a very different way of looking at stuff. And and once you make that change in thinking about it, it actually becomes a lot of fun,
Hmm.
you know?
What do you think that makes us stand out, that triggers people like, oh, this is some different perspective on life?
Well, I want to share a quote that I recently read online,
Hmm.
and it's by a very well-known psychiatrist, Dandy Lee, an American psychiatrist, and she was speaking about meditation. And she says, um, to meditate is actually not a distraction from worldly affairs, but it is a strengthening and a deepening of our spiritual foundation. And that in its turn is a prerequisite for the rest. We have reached a point where we need not just solutions, but effective ones, which means making a radical departure from the mindset that gave rise to a lot of problems in society in the first place.
Mm, beautiful.
So that's a very nice way to introduce the type of meditation, the mantra chanting, this, the sadhana that we do,
Hmm.
because it immediately connects it to, the situation on our planet. Many people are anxious. What's happening to the environment? What's happening in politics? What's happening with
Mm,
Trump? What's happening, and et cetera, et cetera.
yeah.
And so I thought that was very, very, very nice and meaningful. It's not a distraction. It should not be a distraction.
Or an
It's
escape.
it's a it's a mindset. It's a reset of our mind.
Hmm. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Something that I also got out of that, I think the last two sentences reminds me of something that Einstein said. He said, problems cannot be solved with the same consciousness that created them.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Yeah,
if we can create that change of consciousness, then we can also solve these problems that come from that maybe lower, quote unquote, lower state or different state of consciousness.
yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to the mission that your Guru Maharaj gave you, you went to explore, okay, how do I attract people then? And how am I going to be present in the society in order for them to be able to find us?
Mhm.
What did you notice that people that first come to a spiritual tradition, maybe in general, what have you seen in them that sort of makes it harder for them to connect. So, what kind of things, or culture, or clothes, or something like that? And what do you feel helps them to draw them in?
Yeah, I feel that people are can be quite have a setback when it's all about, the rules and regulations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember hearing His Holiness Ridayananda Das Goswami Maharaj say that Prabhupada told him early on, do not present Krishna consciousness as a set of rules and regulations. Of course, for us as devotees, we know sadhana is important. There are certain principles that we follow. But for a new person, it's I think it's much more important to really, try to figure out what are their needs, what are their interests, what are their concerns, what kind of person are they,
Mm-hmm.
and take that as a starting point,
Yeah.
you know, and also, the outward look. It's for some people it is important, for other people it's not important. But I feel as long as you try to associate through the mode of goodness,
Mm-hmm.
really be interested in the other person, be respectful, um, give them dignity, then there's a natural way in which the communication starts to flow, in which you get to know each other. And then you find something that's really important to the other person, which you could begin to address in a more Krishna conscious or spiritual way.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like a softer entrance. But how do you find the right line between maybe compromising too much on the one hand, or you could say, okay, I'm compromising internally, or you could say to yourself, yes, but I'm just giving them a different perspective. I'm just trying to make them break with their day to day habits, or, so yeah, how should we approach that?
I never, I don't think no, I don't think it's about compromise at all. I mean, as devotees, we have a framework. There's certain things that we do, there's certain things that we stand for, there's certain things that we believe. Um, and I think we should be very honest about those things. But at the same time, we should see where that other person is at,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And you don't need to force feed them the whole 9 yards. You don't need to tell them, well, once you get initiated, you have to do this, that, and that, and that. You cannot do that. And no, it's just like, where are you in your life? And if they are, for example, eating meat, then you can talk about that, but in a very open way. Like, well, did you ever think about, these societal aspects of eating meat? Did you ever think about what it does for the environment? Did you ever think about, you know, what type of creatures animals in fact are? There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
studies nowadays. I just saw a little clip on the news that there's a cow somewhere in Switzerland or Austria,
Mm-hmm.
and that cow has learned to scratch her back with an instrument.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Wow.
so so the thing is, like, you can discuss anything just as long as the person feels that they can trust you, they feel
Mm.
at ease, and they feel, well, it's done in an atmosphere of trust and respect.
Yeah.
And it's not about compromising. I'm not going to say, well, meat eating is okay, for example. No,
Mm.
but I first want to see, okay, where are you at? Did you ever think about why you eat what you eat? Did you ever think about, the consequences on multi levels of the diet choices that you make?
Mm-hmm.
And then you
Yeah.
can see, and some persons say, no, I don't want to change. Okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the next one,
Yeah.
you
So
know?
like a very personal approach. I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe you want to share a little bit about how that was back in the day, because I feel back in the day things were a lot more strict. Maybe now there's much more space to approach it in that way.
Yeah, well, I remember when I was a new devotee and going on the Sankirtan, I would just, tell people, well, if you eat meat in our scriptures, I'm sure you know that
Oh,
example, that you have to come back according to the law of karma as many times as there's hairs on the body of the cow.
woo, you would say that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
intense.
and most people were like, okay, you know.
Mm,
I think if you really want to say those things, because Prabhupada said those things, or Prabhupada also has the spiritual acuity and the spiritual presence and the spiritual purity. But, we're living in a different, I think we're living in a different world. And yeah, we can just share different perspectives. And as devotees, we like to share the Krishna conscious perspective on a lot of things.
mm-hmm,
But the way that you do that depends on who you're talking to, if it's a group of people or if it's an event. You have to really use your imagination and use your intelligence and note that, the same approach doesn't apply to anyone and everyone.
mm,
You have to
yeah.
diversify.
Mm-hmm. Diversify, beautiful. Yeah, and use our creativity as well.
Yeah,
There's not just one way or
no.
the highway. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so speaking about that different world, of course, the world has changed a lot and is
Mhm.
constantly in flux.
Yeah.
How do you think we as a spiritual movement can contribute to conversations that are happening in society today? Not forcibly, but in a natural and a smooth and authentic way.
Mhm. Yeah, good question. Um, I'm not sure if I know the answer because there's more than one answer, obviously, to that question. But I think it would help um, if devotees would be more interested in the world around them.
Ooh, okay.
Because I feel it's like, it's very, I mean, yeah, maybe it's very soothing to the soul to be in a kind of Krishna conscious bubble and to have exchanges with like-minded devotees. Of
Hmm.
course, that's very important. Association is very important. And that is also the strength of our sadhana and the strength of who we are. But in order to connect to the world at large, we need to have some interest in what's happening in that world.
Mm,
And obviously, there are situations that maybe touch us on a deeper level. I mean, if I look at my if I take myself as an example, I'm really concerned about the environment,
hmm.
you know, and I really feel that, well, we're living as if we have 2.5 planet Earths and we don't.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to, take that concern and for example read Shastra and try to figure out, okay, what does Krishna say? What does it say in the Bhagavatam? Are there any examples or stories or verses that give me strength and that I could share with other people
Mm,
to say? And the obvious thing is, if you look at Bhagavad Gita, I think it's 9:28, where Prabhupada, where Krishna says, if you offer me with love and devotion a flower, fruit, water,
hmm.
and some and the fourth thing, I think, yeah, that's the diet. That is the diet for our future.
Mm,
That's a green diet. That's a sustainable diet for the planet.
yeah.
So I think if devotees are, they shouldn't. Sometimes I feel devotees may be a little afraid of what's happening in the bigger world outside because it's all Maya and it's all bad and it's all distracting from because I want to be a pure devotee.
Hmm.
But it doesn't have to be that way. You could be in the world and look around and at the same time experience a kind of deepening of your understanding of Krishna consciousness and maybe also uh, some happiness that you made the right choice to
Mm.
go and start this path
Yeah.
because everything that's happening around in the world is enforcing that. So don't be afraid of the big world, but connect with the world because otherwise, because it's not just as a devotee. I'm sure that, there's a lot of devotees, they can quote many verses. There's a lot of devotees who's very good in deity worship or, chanting beautiful bhajans. But all of this is also meant to kind of re-spiritualize who we are, to activate the qualities of the soul. But the qualities of the soul we can also utilize to be nice to people, to make a difference in the world in which we live, to make a difference in the street or the city, to be nice to our neighbors.
Mm.
And I think if we do that, then Krishna consciousness is actually coming to life more. It's not just, a philosophy that you can find in the books, but we actually live it. And people, I feel, can be very impressed because they see the transformation,
Beautiful.
you know.
Yeah.
And
And I think
we shouldn't be afraid of showing that. And we shouldn't be afraid of interacting on that.
mhm. And I think also in order to attract new people and connect with them on a personal level, we also need to know what's going on and what the world is and society at large is going through.
Yeah.
And I think that's also what is happening in Bhagavad Gita, right? So Arjuna thinks being spiritual is going away and retracting, but Krishna is saying, no, no, you have to be in the world, you have to do your duty. So do you think maybe as a society, I mean, Society of Krishna Consciousness, do you think we might have a premature idea of what detachment is in that sense?
Excuse me, of what?
A premature idea of detachment.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we might.
Yeah.
I mean, the real detachment is using everything in Krishna's service.
Mm, yeah.
And that also goes for, yeah, our own experiences in the world and maybe the wrongs that we see. We cannot right all the wrongs, but we can be empathic. We can care.
Hmm. Yeah. So what I notice myself when I'm having discussions with other devotees, for instance, or what I see happening sometimes around me, is that once we seek to be socially relevant and we're gonna go into that world, in the world, the big bad world, then sometimes just by taking the Krishna conscious values, it's like you're taking a stand, either political or yeah, socially, you're taking some kind of a stand. And some people they say that we shouldn't. So we should be open for everyone. There shouldn't be any disagreement. We have a certain image as a society. How do you feel about that? As devotees, should we have a stand, like for instance in politics?
Um, well, there's the institution ISKCON, the organization, and obviously we are all part of ISKCON as devotees. But at the same time, we are also individual souls. And I think, there's a delicate balance, and I think everyone has to figure that out for themselves. Uh, where you still have the feeling, okay, I'm an ISKCON man or I'm an ISKCON woman, but at the same time, I'm also, Rasa or I'm Citralekha or I'm, you know, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. I I mean, yeah, you can say, for example, okay, that's what I heard a couple of years ago when I visited the ISKCON Communications conference. There were devotees and they were speaking about politics. Should devotees engage with political parties? And, were there examples of devotees who did that and what were the results?
Mm-hmm.
And then one devotee was giving some kind of report and said, well, yeah, in my yatra, in my country, we have this political party and we work together with them because, they favor us and they let us do things. And because they connect to us, it gives us more of a prestige or it gives us more PR moments.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, I thought, well, that's actually quite curious because that's strange. Because I know in that particular country, there is no such thing as democracy. And the party that they were speaking of, the party that was at that point in time formed the government, was actually quite an extreme right wing political party.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, yeah, I'm not sure if I could do that because you associate with people who are, yeah, who are actually bad persons. you
Mm-hmm.
know they enrich themselves. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of violence against minorities. There's a lot of violence against women. um, uh, there's a lot of hypocrisy. And then just to say, okay, because this party is favoring us and as Hare Krishnas and giving us a lot of leeway, I was thinking, I don't know if I could do that. I mean, it's an extreme example.
Mm-hmm.
The other example is, in the Netherlands we have a party for the animals, for the rights of the animals. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's quite unique.
Yeah.
And I follow that party in the sense that, if I vote, I want to vote because I live in the Netherlands. I feel I I need to make a contribution to the democracy, so I take my voting rights very serious. And I think, well, if there's a party who cares about the fate of animals, then why shouldn't I give them my vote?
Mm-hmm.
Makes Does that choice make me political? Yeah, maybe in some sense it does, but I don't have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm. What would happen if, for instance, you vote on that party, but there's another devotee who would vote more on the right side or on the liberal side or extreme this, extreme that, or more liberal or more conservative. So there can be so many devotees in the same country voting different things and justifying their political stance through scripture, because we can find something in every side actually.
Yeah.
So how do we navigate those diversities of opinion?
Well, I think they should just be there. Isn't it a little bit the same as to say, okay, some devotees, they really like traditional prasadam.
Hmm.
They like khichdi, they like rice, they like subjis. And other people say, well, I like pizza
Pasta and pizza.
prasadam or ice cream prasadam or, a vegan or vegetarian hot dog prasadam. Does
Hmm.
that make them any less as a devotee? No, it's just a matter of taste.
Yeah.
And also, I think, you know, we come together, I think, as ISKCON devotees on the base of a shared philosophy and on the base of a shared spiritual practice, and on the base of a shared loyalty to our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, and you know, um, but we don't take an oath or we don't promise that we only vote, extreme right or extreme left or in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
That's a very personal thing, and I think it should be personal.
Hmm.
And if we're not allowed to do that anymore, then I think we're missing the point.
Yeah. What I sometimes notice is, for instance, if I share my views on certain topics or even political views, um, that people, they think, okay, she has this particular view, she's an ISKCON devotee, so the whole of ISKCON thinks like that. So I feel like also when you bring out your opinion, there's sort of a weight of responsibility also a little bit for the image of the movement. How do you feel about that?
Um, yeah, I think it depends a little bit on how you share those thoughts or how you share that communication. I mean, just like they say, some things you say are on the record, and some things are off the record. Some
Mm-hmm.
things are like, you know, uh, the party line, and some things are personal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, if you want to share your political preferences or anything else, then you can just say, listen, what I'm going to say now or what I just said, that's just my personal opinion.
Mm.
And I hope it's colored through the lens of, the knowledge that I have gathered through the years of trying to become a devotee and studying Prabhupada's books. Might not be, perfect, but that's where I am at this point, at this phase in my life.
Mm.
But it's not, I don't know, I don't even know if there's something like, the official ISKCON standpoint on a lot of things. I know that ISKCON Communications conference, they put those topics on their agenda, but to say that's, those stances are shared throughout the whole of our international society, I don't know. And
Mm.
I even wonder if we should have just one view.
Yeah, if I take, for instance, something that for me would be clear, I don't know if but maybe as an example, as an experiment, I would say abortion is not really what Prabhupada wanted for us, right? He has mentioned that a few times that you are
Mhm.
taking a life.
Yeah.
So would that be a shared viewpoint for all the devotees in the world, or are there also differences of opinion there?
No, I think that would be a shared viewpoint,
Mm.
but also abortion should be approached because it has a lot of nuances.
Mm.
For example, if a woman, for some medical reasons, has to have an abortion because it endangers her life or because there's something going wrong with the child in the womb, then, she should have the right to have that medical procedure. Now, if you're a literalist, you say, no, no, no. We say we're against abortion, so we're against abortion no matter what,
Yeah, yeah. So
But
it's
I
always dependent
think,
on context.
yeah, we should
Yeah.
see what is the context, Or for example, um, I mean, yeah, we live in Kali Yuga, and so maybe there's a 13-year-old girl who is a victim of a rape, who's pregnant.
Hmm.
Should that person have that child? I mean, I'm not saying yes and I'm not saying no,
But there should be a discussion,
but there should be
not
yeah,
just
an
judgment.
in-depth discussion about that. And it's not just black or white. It's
Yeah.
not just, I mean, yeah.
Hmm.
And I feel that maybe, yeah, ISKCON can make a contribution. Uh, but we have to do it through the lens of scripture, and we have to do it through the lens of empathy, and we have to, but we have to take the trouble to get into that discussion, not just, okay, well, let's see, I'm a devotee, so I'm anti-abortion, I'm anti-drugs, of
Yeah.
course we are, but we want to know why,
Mm.
it's
Look
not
at the
just,
intentions and the deeper reasons.
yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit also of Prabhupada. If we read Prabhupada's letters, we see that sometimes he would say to someone one thing and to the other person another. For instance,
Yeah.
I heard to one person he said, you should never compromise on chanting your rounds. Like you should not eat, not sleep, just chant your rounds. And then in another letter he would say, oh, but you work so hard, you it's okay if you can sometimes not chant your, is it fine? So
Yeah.
even Prabhupada was also not absolute in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also, I think Prabhupada, he also said before he went to America that, okay, if there's only meat that I can eat in America, I'll eat it.
Hmm.
And if we hear only that statement out of context, then it would be strange. But if we know the deeper reasons and Prabhupada's intentions, then it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the monastery in Wittem,
Yeah.
you are connected to projects that are directly, yeah, impacting the community, the local community, and
Yeah.
making people more aware.
Yeah.
Could you share some of the things that you're doing there?
Yeah. Well, actually, tonight we're showing the movie.
Oh, it's tonight.
Papa's Life is tonight.
Prabhupada movie, Jai.
Yes, the Papa movie. Yeah. We're trying to make people aware that, for example, with this series of movies, we've called it Holy Heroes.
Okay.
Now the Holy Heroes,
Mm-hmm.
and we share with people, that it's very important to have role models that are out of the ordinary, and to associate with those personalities, even if they're on a big white screen, it has an impact on who you are. And it's nice, it broadens your idea of what it means to be human, what
Mm.
it means to be really like a decent human being, and what it means to, stand up for the ideals that you believe in, and what it means to be able to help somebody, you know?
Mm.
Um,
Beautiful.
so yeah, we do a lot about the environment. We try to help people make the next steps in, how do you see the environment? Well, we know, if we say nature, it's Krishna's nature, you know?
Yeah, the creation.
Yeah. And we do a lot of programs like that. Last week we had a workshop about why do we even buy so much stuff, and
Consumism.
yeah, and I could slip in the analogy from the Bhagavad Gita that, it's also it's a process. It's the senses that are being connected to the objects of the senses. And, and I was talking a little bit about if we try to become like the turtle. And
Mm-hmm.
people were like, I never heard that.
Yeah.
It was really, really fun. So again, utilizing the knowledge that Srila Prabhupada gave us, but do it in a meaningful way, and do it also in a contemporary way, and try to share it on the level where people are at,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, to be able to address their needs or their concerns, and give them an alternative, and give them the first moments where they can also make that reset, that mindset, that radical departure from the mindset that gave rise to the problems in the first place.
Yeah, which we started with. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a little bit. And another a big topic, and I know it's also a big topic in ISKCON right now again, is the position of women. How are we treating women in society? How are women being treated? How
Mm-hmm.
are women being viewed? How about the extreme violence against, spirit souls that happen to be in a female body,
Mm-hmm.
all that gender related violence. And yeah, we try to also speak about that, show movies about it, have workshops about it, presentations. We had a really nice presentation about gender in art,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
you know and just like, what do you see, what does
Mm-hmm.
it represent, Is it traditional? Is it something else? And then from there, it's a small step to saying, but actually, we're not the body.
Yeah. And do people take that message then?
Well, they're open to hear it.
Okay. Yeah.
I cannot really see how they process it by
Mm-hmm.
themselves, but they
It's an
get,
entrance.
yeah, they at least there's a different flavor, the Krishna conscious flavor
Yeah.
to choose from.
I think that's beautiful, yeah, to take the things or the topics that are now being discussed in society or projects or campaigns that being started, then to take them and to give some new flavors to it.
Yeah.
Let's say that's a beautiful way to draw people in. Do you have some other like final tips or advice how to stay relevant as a Krishna conscious society?
Well, I think, um, I think many devotees, including myself, once we get hooked on Krishna consciousness, we tend to make the mistake that, everything I did with my previous life was no good. Now I want to be a devotee and I have to start and learn everything new
Mm-hmm.
but actually, that's not the way we're wired. We have already a certain personality. We just need to spiritualize it.
Mm.
And so once you start realizing that, then for sure, everyone has some interests. Things that you found interesting even before you became a devotee. I mean, I'm not talking about, smoking dope or anything, but let's say you're always really interested in history, or you were always like to, work in your garden, or you're always wanting to, whatever. Take that interest and see how you can Krishnaize it and how you can share it with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes more personal. You really get into a relationship with the other person. And I think if you take it from there, then, it's really about chant and be happy.
Yeah. Because maybe even before we come to Krishna consciousness, we already have certain tendencies because that is part of, yeah, our dharma also.
Yeah,
And then if we become a devotee, then that dharma it still stays the same,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much. I
You're
don't know
very
if you
welcome.
want to
Thank
add
you.
anything more, but I thought it was a beautiful, like, rounded conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to add one more thing, if I may.
Hmm.
It was something that I picked up from Ram Guru. She
Okay.
is a wonderful devotee, and she has also a big project. It's called Karuna Care.
Oh, yes.
And whenever I can, when I see that, there's a lecture that she gave, a presentation online, I try to find the time to watch it. And one thing she said that really stuck with me was, she said, the Christians, because I work mainly in a Christian environment.
Hmm.
At one point she said, the Christians, they spend a lot of time sharing with everyone how much God loves us. And I thought, yeah, that's actually right.
Yeah.
But then she said, but the devotees of Krishna, we should teach the world how we can behave so that, we can show that we love God also.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Amazing note to end on. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for the conversation and all the beautiful, yeah, inspiration to think about. I think many topics maybe to unpack further. Let's see. But yeah, thank you so much. And hope, yeah, to have you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.